Welcome to the Fans of Fitness podcast, a voice for fitness, health, and wellness professionals. The National Personal Training Institute of Arizona.
Legit instructors teaching you.
No, enough of those bad reps. The good quality trainers that come out of the school.
Let's get into it.
Brock, welcome to the Fans of Fitness podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. We've talked a lot recently about opportunities for our students at the National Personal Training Institute. Had a couple come and see you already. But for those who don't know, GymGuyz is it's a franchise business, correct?
It is. We're actually made it to Canada and even Europe now.
That's awesome.
So it's spreading the good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good model, and I think the popularity is because it's as personal training gets, right?
Right.
You know, we're going to clients' weddings, barbecues, kids' birthday parties. You know, you really get close with the clientele, which is nice. It's a really good feature of our service for accountability, but also the relationship building you get with that. It's hard to compete, and so it's a really good model for actually making a huge impact, assuming you have the right people in place.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things we talk about in class is the different avenues we can take as coaches. It's not just what I think the majority of people think that a personal trainer just lives in a commercial box gym. I think most people think that. I don't think people realize all the avenues you can take in this industry. So, you know, you've got coaches, personal trainers working as independents in studios. You've got coaches working in group fitness studios. You've got coaches working alongside chiropractors, LMTs, physical therapists even. There's lots of routes to go. But one of the things that I think is underserved the most is in-home personal training. And I've told students for the last 5 years that this is something you should really consider, because there's a lot of people out there that are either really busy, or there's people that just are so intimidated to walk into a gym that they don't even know what to do or how to start. And they don't do anything because they don't want to go into a gym. So that's where we can come in as coaches and serve these people that don't know what they're doing, are petrified of going to gyms. And that's where I think this is it's a great path as a coach to do something a little bit differently, to go serve those who need help in their own homes. And that's what you guys do.
It's so true. Yeah. And a majority of people we work with, some is out of convenience, right? It's a pretty good split, actually. They're just like, I'm very busy. I need you to get here an hour, spend an hour, and then go. I don't have time to do the whole pre-gym and post-gym routine.
Right.
You know? There's those folks, but there's definitely a large demographic out there. They don't want to go to the gym, you know? Or maybe they used to go to the gym and they don't feel comfortable anymore. For a variety of reasons, they don't want to go to the gym. They don't know what to do when they get there.
Right.
They're intimidated maybe by other people or the equipment. I would love to go to the gym. I know fitness is important, but I get there and I'm staring at a sea of equipment. I'm not quite sure what to do. And a lot of the folks we work with have worked with personal trainers before in that setting. And so I think that's sometimes good, sometimes bad. There's a big mix, because a lot of times the big box is that's where people cut their teeth in personal training a lot of times.
Yep.
You know? And so it's not to say they're not phenomenal trainers in big box gyms. There certainly are.
Yep.
But I think a lot of folks that have a negative association with their previous personal trainers got someone who maybe just got into the profession. As you know, there's a low barrier of entry. There's many very quick and easy ways to get in. And so it's not necessarily the case that they're brand new, first time ever working as a personal trainer. It doesn't mean just because they're certified they're good, or that they have any business training anyone.
Right.
You know, as we know, which is what I love about your school and your program, right? But it's a big difference. There's a big difference when we are going to your house and training you. The accountability even associated with that, right? Like if I get the alarm and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the gym, I don't feel like going. It's easy to cancel that. You know,
right.
Well, I'll just
Yeah.
But when we're coming to knock on your door, it's a lot more difficult to cancel.
They're coming. Yeah.
They're coming. You know,
Yep.
This person got up out of bed. You know, they drove to my house. They're knocking on the door now. You know, it's a little bit it's a little bit more difficult to cancel that, which is great because then the folks get results quicker, and we only employ people that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I can't see what they're doing.
Right.
So, the hiring process is much more rigorous because of that, and it's definitely not a cut your teeth in the profession type of position.
Right.
For that reason. But there's many unique points. I'm sure we'll get into to a variety, but there's a big demographic that doesn't want to go to the gym. They're intimidated. They don't have time. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And even though the gyms seem packed, so it would give the indication that everybody goes to the gym, there's a large majority do not. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great model. I learned about GymGuyz when I was in Beaverton, Oregon. So when I graduated the school that I now run, I went to next door in the school to become an independent. And I remember driving around Beaverton, and there were signs literally on every corner. And I had no idea what it was until one of my friends that I graduated with, who also worked at the studio as an independent, got a part-time job with him. Mm-hmm. And he explained it to me, and I was like, that's cool. That is really cool. I didn't even think about doing that, going into homes and helping people, because I figured, if you want to get healthy, you got to go to a gym. But I didn't really think about us going to them. And the other cool thing is that a lot of places have a gym already. Like a lot of apartment complexes have them. There's some HOAs that have gyms as well next to the pools. So it's less travel time for that person who wants to go to the gym, and it's also an area that they already live in and they feel comfortable. And and knowing that you've got a qualified coach coming to you, that just makes life easier, I think, for those who want direction and coaching.
Definitely, and I think look, if you're in an apartment gym, and there's a lot of them around here, so that's definitely true here. More so than other areas of the country. Sure, we're kind of spoiled with that, right? We don't always have to bring gym equipment because we train a lot of people in their apartments.
Yep.
But we do have equipment if needed, right? We can bring a whole setup to your house. But it's not private, but it's a lot more private than a public gym, right? A big box. And so there's the comfortability factor there. It's almost like a happy medium. They're like, all right, well, I would be okay if I'm with you, right? And so you're guiding me through, and we're in an apartment gym, and there's just other people, my neighbors, are here, and that's okay. I feel good with that, and so that's really strong because a lot of the equipment they have in there and these places are great. It's not like it's not acceptable, right? Or there's not enough, or you have to be at a public gym to get the job done. It's really not the case. It's rarely the case. And if there is a case where we're like, okay, you're trying to be a professional athlete, then maybe we're not for you, right? But also they're not the ones that are calling us.
Yeah.
And because then maybe you do need a facility, right? You really do. Yep. And we certainly don't try to, go outside of our area of expertise. Of course, we would guide them to the right people. But you can get a lot done in an apartment gym. Even without an apartment gym.
Yeah.
Bring some equipment over to your apartment if you don't even want to go down to the apartment gym, and we can get a lot done. We do it in parks, at apartments, homes, corporate. We'll go to your office, schools. There's lots of different ways to get this done. Aquafit is something that we've just launched here as well because we have a lot of, the older population. They want some low impact stuff. Mm-hmm. They can get outside, move around a little bit better, right, in the water, so they can get some movement, and it's really nice. But we do group training like that too. We just show up in an office and train the staff. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So we're really versatile for that reason because we can kind of do this thing anywhere, which is nice. Yeah.
What is like if you were going to go to somebody's house or apartment and they didn't have any equipment? What kind of equipment do your coaches bring?
Well, everything except for machines, right? So if you go to a gym, and obviously you're not gonna
bring plates and dumbbells.
We're not gonna wheel a machine. We'll bring that in. Yeah. We have all that in a van, big van, wrapped with GymGuyz, big red van, right? We have all of that. We just don't. We're not gonna have like a pec deck fly, a hack squat, right? We won't wheel those in, right? But yeah, free weights, all that stuff, anything, bands, free weights, med balls, slam balls, you name it. Yeah. If it's not like a machine, we have it. Yeah,
I didn't know you had that much stuff in the back of there. I thought maybe it was just kind of like resistance bands, maybe a Bosu ball, maybe some physio balls, some like dumbbells, perhaps. But I didn't realize you guys had barbells in there.
Yeah, but yeah, we can kind of. Yeah, I mean the van is packed, man.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I've seen those
Yeah.
vans a lot, especially in Oregon, like I was saying. But it sounds like a great place to work. The two people that I knew that worked for GymGuyz in Portland, they had a van and they loved it.
It's an interesting model because there's lots of different ways, like you mentioned, right? You can work for big box, you can pay rent at a studio, train your clients out of there. You can be independent in any way as an entrepreneur, but then a lot of folks realize, well, that requires marketing, advertising,
overhead,
the whole thing,
yeah,
all of it. It costs a lot of money.
It does,
and it also requires other skills that are not overtly obvious. I'm reflecting back to when I opened my gym, right?
Yeah,
I'm an expert in the field. I opened a gym. They're just going to show up.
Doesn't happen that way.
Doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Doesn't happen that way. You sit in an empty gym for a minute and you gotta, I need to learn all these other skills now.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I like about GymGuyz specifically is that if you come on as a trainer, it's a really good opportunity to be an intrapreneur. So you have that entrepreneurial, grit to you. You have all those qualities. You're like, I'm not really set up for running a business. And what I like about our model is that we offer commission for sales for trainers that want to do sales, but we do not require sales. So some trainers are just like, I just want to train. Give me some clients. When you get them, call me. I'll train them. But a lot of others have that entrepreneurial bone in them, and they're ready to go. But they don't have all of the skills or maybe even the financial situation to launch a company properly, be able to advertise and get people to actually know they exist.
Yeah.
And so what I like about the GymGuyz model for that is that it's an established brand, right? You have the branding, you have the advertising, everything behind you, sales team, and me to train you in how to do this stuff as an intrapreneur. My mic got a little close, excuse me.
Okay.
As an intrapreneur, I got a little excited. And that's a great model for a lot of people, especially starting out, where they're like, I'm a really good trainer, and I really am interested in growing my training business. I don't want to work at a big box, but I don't necessarily know how to make an ad creative. How do I market? I need to run Google ads. I need to run Meta ads. I need to design a billboard and put that, I need to pay for that. That's thousands of dollars, like all these things add up. And so that's pretty understandable, right? And it's a lot of headache too. Yeah. That a lot of folks don't want to deal with. And we deal with that for you. Right. Train them. And not only we do continuing education program, and we'll get into that later from the training aspect, but also, how are you going to get some clients? How can we help you get some clients on your book of business? And you can make a lot more money that way because now you're doing commission on the sale and you book them for yourself. So you get that in both directions. You don't have to do a sale and go, well, this guy named Travis is going to train you and I'll take my sales commission. Like I'm only in sales. And you don't have to go, well, I'm only taking clients that I'm just kind of sitting and waiting for someone else to do it for me. You can do both. Yeah. But you also don't have to. If you just want to do the training thing, you can certainly do that as well. And we'll fill up your book for you. Yeah. So it's really unique. I love that model. Yeah. I love that. I wish I had that when I was starting out because there was a lot of ignorance tax paid. Yeah. Tons of that. Right. And so it's really nice. It kind of fast tracks that. And as we're growing, we're growing. And so there's full-time trainer positions that will be available as we grow, right? Management positions that are coming available as we grow. They're all part of the structure that we are going to fill. It's just we have to have the right people in the pipeline to do that. Yeah. And so folks that are coming out of a program like yours, they're, light years beyond someone who just has an online course certification. Doesn't mean that someone with that certification doesn't know what they're doing, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're doing. Where with your program, right, they get hands-on training, they're actually working with people. They're actually doing the things they're going to be doing. Right. Because it's not really an information issue. We have the internet. It's the information age. We can learn all this stuff from like a rote memorization standpoint. Right. I can memorize stuff, no problem. That doesn't mean I can implement it. Yep. And so I love that you marry the two together. There I go with the mic again. Kick me out of here. You marry the two together really nicely. And so when we get folks from you, that's why we're interested in your program, right? Because we need people that can just activate. Yep. It's like, okay, you've done both now, right?
Mhm.
You've learned the material, you've applied the material. You come on with us, we give you a continuing education program, trainer development, we call it, affectionately known as TDev, right? We pay you for that, and you get better at your job, and then we teach you how to get some clients too on top of it, make some extra money. So you get a little bit of business information, you learn in the business, but you're also with the support as an intrapreneur that you don't get as an entrepreneur. But also you're getting continuing education, and most places don't do that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't believe that most GymGuyz locations do that either. I don't know for sure, but it's not a requirement, and it's something that we do. We want to make sure that our people are the best.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in competition with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
A competition of one. We have the best trainers. We have the best customer service. Hands down, that's what I want our business to be about. When you see GymGuyz, like, well, those people are legit.
Yeah.
From the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so it requires some extra steps. Requires really going through a lot of applicants. We're at no shortage of those.
Yeah.
But finding the right people to put them in the places that we need them to be in, growing them within the company, that's huge. We're not looking for folks to be dating their personal training career.
Right.
We want them to be married to it, right? This is what
Yeah.
you're doing for a career. And so we can really help them grow into that and make it a full-time, lucrative position within GymGuyz. It's great. It's a great program.
Yeah, and I think going back to you call, what do you call it? Entrepreneur.
Intrapreneur. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. It's a lot of people don't realize that they even have that ability to be an entrepreneur. I certainly didn't until I got in this industry. I worked for Coca-Cola for over 10 years. That sold itself.
Right.
I didn't have to sell Coca-Cola. Everybody knew what it was. But when I became my own brand, when I went independent, now I'm selling me.
Mm-hmm.
That was different. And then especially when I went to, when I became an independent, I had 24-hour fitness, as an umbrella. They got me clients. They put them in my books. I did some selling. When I went through the class at MPTI, we did a lot of business, and that's what helped me a lot. I've got a business degree before I went to MPTI Portland,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm good. I'm a business guy.
Yeah.
And I got that to move up with Coke before I decided I don't want to be in corporate anymore. I want to be my own boss, and that's why, I eventually went to the school. And then going independent, I learned more in class about this industry and how to grow than I learned in my business degree that I got. So pretty early on, I realized that I want to be an entrepreneur. This is exciting. This is a challenge, and I'm up for it because I couldn't see myself working in corporate America anymore. I didn't want to have a boss anymore. At that time when I went through school, I was 35. I was kind of late to the game to be a personal trainer, so I thought. But it turned out that being that age was perfect because I was more mature. I was better at communication, which is imperative in this industry. It's a people. It's personal. It's personal training. So you need to be able to speak to your clients professionally, and you need to know far ahead what you need to do to make your business grow. And there's a lot of speed bumps in there. It wasn't easy, but the cool thing is with every little failure, I got better at doing what I was doing. And you're gonna fail. And when I say fail, I don't mean I'm done. You're just gonna hit these little bumps that you didn't see coming, and that's gonna make you a better coach if you can pivot and learn how to not make that mistake again. I'm talking little mistakes when it comes to like packaging, when it comes to marketing. I've wasted a lot of money as a coach trying to market and got nothing in return for it because I don't know how to do Facebook ads. Right. Well, I do now. I'm still not good at it, but I'm way better than I was before. And, there's a lot of things to learn, but I think a lot of people don't know that they have that entrepreneurial spirit until they're put in a position that gives them the ability to do that. Like what you're talking about. If you want to do sales, which I think it's a great thing to have in your arsenal is selling. And for coaches that are really well educated, they have confidence because they know what they're talking about. That helps with communication. When you don't know what you're talking about and you're just trying to, BS the person in front of you saying, yeah, you want to lose 40 pounds in 1 month, I got you. A lot of people do that. But if you know what you're talking about, then you can talk to them in terms of like, hey, you want to lose this? Well, I'm going to be realistic with you. this is X amount of time. It's not a month. And then, I like to talk to our students about you can sell without selling. If you're confident, if you're approachable, if you're there to help them and they know that, they're going to eventually come and talk to you about certain things that aren't working for them or what you would recommend. And I found that to be true at 24. When somebody said no, my FM told me to get 7 no's before I give up. That's not me. That's not my style.
No, same.
One no, I'm like, okay, cool, I understand. If you ever have any questions, come find me. If I don't have anything going on, if I'm out with a client, I will help you. That was my approach, and I had people coming to me from then on that would say, hey, I've got some questions. I'm like, well, sit down and talk about it. Or, hey, I don't know how to do a deadlift correctly. Cool, I got time. Let's go up and show you. And then before I knew it, people were like, hey, do you have any time on your schedule? Oh, what are the rates here, by the way? I'm like, let's sit down. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. You brought up some really good points. There's a lot there. So I'll try to remember all of them.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'll try hard.
Okay.
So the last thing you mentioned was really about providing value on the front end, because no one knows you yet. You're not Coca-Cola.
Nope.
You're just some guy.
No brand.
No brand.
Logo.
You're just some dude, right? In a gym.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people worry about, well, I don't want to give my time away for free. I'm working. I need to get paid. And I think that's a mistake that I made in the beginning too, right? Like I'm working. I need to be getting paid for that. And so, but when you provide value on the front end, like I'm not trying to get anything out of you, man. Like, you want to learn how to deadlift? Cool. Let's go do it. I'll show you. Well, for free, right? And because like, wow, that's pretty nice. Like, yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. And then leave it. There's no sales pitch at the end either.
None.
It's just, I'm just helping you, right? That is the sales pitch. Because they're like, wow, that was really cool. He didn't ask me to do anything. There was no negative, this person's a salesman, like the stereotypical.
Right.
This person's trying to sell me a product. He's only saying these things to sell me something.
Yep.
You just provided value on the front end.
Yeah.
It was you pulled the curtain back. I know what I'm talking about. I'm more than happy to help you. No further. That's it.
That's it.
That was it. That's huge.
Yeah.
For sales, because you don't need to be pushy.
No.
You just provided value on the front end. I think that's huge, especially when you're not Coca-Cola.
Right.
Because, you have to establish some sort of social proof up front. And so that's skipped over a lot of times. And I think it's definitely an ignorance tax that I paid, right? I need these people. I'm an expert. They should know automatically that I'm an expert. I'm going to help them and that I'm worth X amount of dollars. That's not the way it works. Many of the first clients I had at my gym were free so that they would write me Google reviews, tell their friends, give me referrals. Those people paid, but only because the social proof was established. You're establishing a brand, and it doesn't look like you're trying to be predatory in your sales tactics, and you're showing everyone that you do know what you're talking about, in fact, and that you are different than everybody else, and that is the sale, I think. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm like you. I've heard the same sales training that you have.
Yeah.
Right. Call them 100 times. Don't let them go.
Right.
I get it. But it's just, it's hard to get repeat customers that way. It's hard to get, even if you get that person. Let's say I do that to you and you're my client and we're going to be training together for 8 weeks. At the end of the 8 weeks, you're done. And you're not going to have anything nice to say about me in the meantime, even if I'm good. Because the experience from discovery call or first meeting or whatever it is to purchase was horrible because I just beat you up on the sales side of it. So really providing that front end quality, that value on the front end.
You have to build trust.
You really do. And I can't think of a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And it's proven to be successful. But, when you have GymGuyz, you have both. You have the brand, but then you also have, that's already established. So that's already there. It's not Coke. It's not Coca-Cola. But it's still an established brand. I mean, they're an international company.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I'm trying to remember the other points you made, but the continuing education portion is huge because when you're by yourself, here's what I like about this too. A lot of times people will shop personal trainers based on the way the personal trainer looks and if they want to look like that personal trainer.
True.
Because many times when you work independently, you don't get influenced by other ways to train. You train a certain way that was successful for you. So it's a valid way of training. It's not like it's invalid. And then the clients that you train them that way as well. That's what you're very comfortable with. And so you train everyone the same way. When we do trainer development, it's like, hey, Travis, who are you working with this week? I got this person, this person. Cool. What are you doing with them? Like, let's talk about programming. How did you set that up? What was the thought process? And then whoever else is sitting there like, okay. You know, you need to be competent in all these things. And that brings me back. That word competent just reminded me of your other point.
Yep.
Confidence. Competence leads to confidence.
Right.
That's how you get confidence.
Yeah.
Because we're like, okay, I can't just like, how am I going to be confident? And people know when it's fake. You're just fabricating your confidence. Competence is literally the catalyst to confidence. So when you really know what you're talking about, it's very easy to speak on it.
It is.
You know, because you know that you know what you're talking about, and you're not worried that anyone's going to find out that you don't.
Right.
Like, oh, let me just
like this dude told me this,
Yeah.
and somebody's like,
yeah,
that's a bad coach.
it's a bad coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell right away. You know, you can tell right away, and so that's part of the reason why we do the it's pretty rigorous. It's a lengthy interview process.
Can you tell me more about that? What's that look like when somebody, from the time that you look at the application, you give them a call to the point to where you give them an offer?
Yeah. So first step is maybe it's a resume, maybe it's a referral, whatever it is. We come in contact with someone who's interested in working with the company. Andrew McLean owns the company, and I run the company, right? So we both talked to him on the phone. Like, did we both like this person on the phone? Communication's huge, like you mentioned earlier as well.
Yeah.
These are coming back to me, as you can tell.
Yes.
I knew they would as we started peeling back the onions here. So communication's huge. And so we want to make sure, can they communicate effectively? Because if they're going to do sales at all, or even just, hey, I've just been assigned as your trainer, can you, are you able to speak to these people? They need confidence in you. And so you have to have, sometimes you're like, they're stealing some of your confidence, because you're training people that many times are not very confident. They don't want to go to the gym. They've lost some confidence. They need to be able to borrow your confidence. And if you don't sound like you're confident that you can help me, I'm not feeling any better about the situation. And I've just bought this package from me, maybe, or whoever. And now you're the trainer and you're calling, and I'm like, oh God, Travis is not sounding super confident he can help me, regardless of if you can. And so that's the first step. How do they speak on the phone? How do they communicate in just regular day-to-day conversation? Tell me a little bit about yourself, Travis. Talk to me. Tell me about you. Well, that's something that you know an awful lot about. So if you don't have confidence just telling me about you, well, gosh, it's going to go downhill from here, right? Because these questions that I'm going to ask in person are only going to get more difficult. And so you should be something very easy to talk about. Should be. Yeah. So that's step one, right? Then we set up a meeting, and that's the real interview. So when we meet at a place. It's an office and a gym combination. And we start out, do we have a suspicious noise? Everything okay?
Yeah, I thought my daughter was doing something.
Okay.
She's back in the other room.
I want to make sure we're all good. So when we sit down, it'll be like this at first. We're just having a conversation and kind of break the ice to try to make sure that they're comfortable. It's an interview, so they're a little nervous. Yeah. And so I don't want to make that. I want to see the best version of them because I don't want to instill fear or anxiety in any way when normally they're not that way and they wouldn't be that way in front of a client. So we try to just have some small talk at first, make sure that everyone's comfortable. Say, okay, great. You're ready to get started. Great. Then we go into some, basic knowledge questions just to make sure the foundational knowledge is there. Because that's a prerequisite, right? We at least have to know the foundation, right? And then we work our way up the pyramid, right? So the foundation has to be there. So that shouldn't be too difficult, but sometimes it is. And you realize this person on the phone was confident speaking about themselves.
Yeah. But
now they know that I know if they're giving me good information or not. And then the nerves start to kick in. It's like, listen, this is basic stuff. There's no variables, just basic information. And it's surprising how many people just don't have that baseline. Mm-hmm. They're personal trainers. They're certified. But as we know, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are qualified to go into someone's home and train them
Right.
and actually provide any value. And so that's first. And that's pretty lengthy. There's some scenarios involved, right? There's the foundational stuff, no variables at all. It's just, hey,
What kind of scenarios?
like if I was a brand new person, I've never trained before, I can train any day of the week. You tell me, doesn't matter. Wide open schedule. You've already shown me how to do all the movements. My technique is perfect. I have no movement issues whatsoever. My mobility is impeccable.
Good for you.
It's impeccable. You see how easy this is getting.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some ways that you would get me stronger. My only goal, I have no secondary or tertiary goals right now. I just want to get stronger. Increased force production. That's it. Shouldn't be very intimidating. However, you'd be surprised the answers that I get back. And they quickly realize, just because I'm a certified personal trainer does not necessarily mean that this is going to go well for me today. Which goes one of two ways, because there have been people that have known a little bit, they've had everything else, they've stumbled through a little bit. And we give them the opportunity, hey, look, I think we both know there's some places that we can improve, right? More than happy to revisit this conversation if you're willing to put in the work to educate yourself to answer these questions more effectively next time. Because that shows me two things. One, they're willing to do it on their own, but they're also willing to learn continually. Like, that's, you know what, I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't know this. I didn't know what I didn't know. Now that it's been pointed out to me, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to crush this. Then they do that. That tells me, well, they're going to be great because we're going to do continuing education all the time. Required, by the way. Trainer development is required with our company. And, I mean, we pay them to do it, but it is a requirement. And it turns people away sometimes. They don't want to be a lifetime learner, which is odd to me. But folks that do that, we're more than happy to revisit. Now that they go, wow, okay, I see where my shortcomings are. I'm not going to beat myself up about it or just go, well, I guess it's just not for me. They're going, no, I want to do this, and I'm going to improve. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to knock this out of the park. And it doesn't change because we just need to know that you own the foundational principles. That's not asking a whole lot. Well, with your program, it's not a low barrier of entry like some of the other online programs. So it requires them. These things are already pre-pointed out to them that they may be a shortcoming, and they have you directly. They have a person that they can speak to and go, I'm not getting this. Can you help me? And the answer is yes, right? But with an online course, sometimes it's difficult because it's really just rote memorization. You take the class, you go through the course material. That's 3, by the way.
I'm counting.
3 microphone bumps. When do I get kicked out?
On 5.
5 is the demarcation. Okay, good to know. I'll keep an eye on it. You know, that sometimes leaves a lot of questions unanswered, and really memorizing the material is not the implementation of the material. We talked about that earlier, but that it really shines a spotlight on that when we're talking about these things.
Yeah.
And so assuming they get through that, and we've gone through some scenarios as well. Like, I'm a 40-year-old guy. I had rotator cuff surgery. You know, on the assessment, I have valgus knee. You know, I'm interiorly rotated at the shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm an office guy.
Uh-huh.
But I used to be a D3 baseball player, you know, whatever. Right? So it's stuff like that, you know. And then there's a teach me section. Cool. You made it through the first part. We're going to go out on the gym floor. Just teach me. And there's a few movements. And it's not like, you know, quadruple banded, single leg, pistol squat, Bosu ball. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It's just basic stuff. Because to your previous point, the communication now has to do with the communication of knowledge in the subject matter that we're discussing, right? That you're trying to be a professional in. And that's really important because regardless of what's between your ears, if no one knows what you know because you can't relay the information appropriately, it's ineffective. You know, it's ineffective.
Yeah.
We don't text our clients the information or send them an email about what to do. It's one-to-one, face-to-face. I'm going to tell you how to do it right now. I'm going to cue you through this. And that's tough too. Cueing, I mean, I'm sure you remember when you first started, finding the ones that work for you and being fluent in them and
Yeah.
really knowing what to look for, it's tough.
It's like creating your own language.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, and having other languages there too if that one doesn't work. So cueing is kind of like an art form in itself. Is without touching. Maybe of course you're going to show the movement first, but then if they can't get it, you have words that you can use to get them to go, oh, now I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, you need a big toolbox there.
Yep.
Because I might say, well, I might give you a cue, and it's like no change whatsoever.
Right.
Okay, Travis, try this. Think about it like this. And then the light bulb goes off. You need several of those to be able to pull out of your pocket at any given moment because everybody is so different.
Yep.
You know, if you come from an athletic background, sometimes they get it a little bit quicker, right? They'll adapt to the training, to the re-entry into the world of training quicker. But we get a lot of people that are not detrained, but completely untrained. Never played sports. No, they're just like, I'm not healthy now. I just got blood results back, or I just went to the doctor, and now I'm scared.
Yeah.
And I've never been to the gym. You know, I sit at a desk all day. I've never been an athlete. I've never exercised, and I need to get healthy. I'm worried. You're going to need some more cues. They're not just going to go, oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And so that's difficult. But that's a lot of the people that we work with. And so that those sorts of things where we're going to go on the gym and I will intentionally not follow your instructions.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then see, do you notice it, number one? Because that's, right.
Yeah.
That's a big problem if you don't notice it. But if you know, assuming that you do, you cue me and then I go, oh, I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Can you explain it in a different way? I just want to know, how deep is the toolbox?
Yep.
You know? Or like, wow, that modification still hurts. What are we going to do? You know, I'm training a 90-year-old man right now. You're going to have to make some modifications.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way it is. And if you're going to drive a physiological adaptation towards anything, whatever the goal is, you're going to have to know how to pivot and get to the result one way or the other, or you're not going to have clients anymore, right?
Yep.
So you have to get there regardless of the obstacles that are in the way. And so that's a big part. You know, can you teach me with first knowledge without any variables, and then knowledge with variables, and then teach me with no variables. I just listen so well, and then I don't listen so well, or I can't get it. You know, I'm not getting it. And then I have some injuries that I need you to help me modify. What other exercise can we do to get drive the same physiological adaptation? We still need to get it done. How are we going to do it? And if we can't do it, how are we going to work around it to strengthen? Maybe it's a connective tissue issue, right? Maybe we need to strengthen and thicken the connective tissue, work on mobility, and then we can strengthen the muscles around it. How are we going to do that? You need to know these things.
Yeah.
I'm not there with you.
And most coaches should know these things.
Of course they should.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they don't, and that's the issue. And so, you know, I think with hiring too, sometimes it's a bit off-putting, all the things I just described.
Yeah.
Because usually, if you go to a big box, and you go, hello, here's my certification. They go, when can you start?
Today.
Sure. Great. Yeah. And then that's it. You know, and so then there's a big change when they speak to us. And I think that it's not always overtly obvious as to why it's so important that you have all this information before we bring you on. Because when we do trainer development, it's going to be assuming that you own all of that information already.
Yeah.
And then we're turning the dial up on that already strong foundation. We're not going in and going, okay, so this is how we get stronger. This is how we lose a little bit of weight. Like, it's not basic information anymore. You're a professional. You're on the team, and the trainer development is like really dialing in specific problems for the trainers. You know, I got this guy, I'm working on this modification. I can't seem to, let's work on it. And it might mean I'm going to go with you on the next one. You know, and we're going to work on it together because we have to provide the best service. If we're trying to be the best in the business, we have to do the things that lead to that outcome.
Right.
And so those are those things. And sometimes you're going to have a tough case. And so you're like, Brock, I need you to come with me. No problem. Right. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's both take a look. Both of our eyes are better than just mine or just yours. So let's take a look at it together. And then, you know, when you have a variety of people in the room that you're doing trainer development with, it might be, well, gosh, it's a really good question. I'm not sure. that would have been my answer as well. Travis, do you have anything? Because your background is in corrective exercise. You're a subject matter expert specifically in this. What do you have for us? Can you help? And then we can work together and collaborate. And that collaborative team effort really brings everyone up in the room.
Yeah.
Because just because I'm the team leader doesn't mean I'm like God of fitness, right?
Right.
I don't know everything.
You never will.
You never will. Hopefully, right? Like, I mean, I would love to know everything, but I want to continue to learn.
Yeah.
I hope that there's more to learn. And so, you know, that's really important. And so, especially because we don't work together in an office, we don't report to an office or a gym, and we all sit together and have a little trainer meeting every day. We don't get to do that.
Yeah.
And so, trainer development is really paramount to our success. And oddly, it does turn people off sometimes.
Yeah. I could see, some people just want a job.
They want a job.
And that's it. Just clock in, clock out. Cool.
Yep.
I don't want any extra stuff. And there's a lot of people out there, that's just how they are. That's how they want to be. But then if you're your coach, I think in my case, especially when I went through the school because I wanted the best education I could possibly get. I wanted to know things.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be confident and competent in what I was doing. I wanted to know how to work with clients. I didn't want to just read words and then try to apply it. There's really, to me, no other option than going to a school like MBTI. Getting back to the point with education, there is a wide array of education. There's, in being an unregulated industry, that piece of paper doesn't mean anything. Going back to what we talked about in the beginning, that's why we exist. We know that piece of paper, it's the beginning. And if a coach just gets that certification, it's a foot in the door. You got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And if you start there, nothing wrong with that, but you have to continue to learn. You can't just rest on that piece of paper and every 2 years recertify, get your CPR.
Yep.
And because you have to get CEUs if you have a NCCA accredited certification, you have to do it.
Yep. Like
NASM, ACE, and ISSA, and all the likes. You have to, in order to recert, you have to get continuing education. But there's a lot of really easy courses that spit out.
Yeah.
A few. Did you learn anything? For me, it's about workshops. It's about seminars.
Yep.
Those are where I want to go. I want to move. There's I was just telling the class a couple weeks ago that there's a workshop that's coming to town. It's in August. I missed the last one. It's PPSC. It's pain-free performance. Mm-hmm. I want to go to that myself because I don't know everything, like I said. None of us do, but I want to know more because I want to be able to help serve my clients better with more tools. And that's what ultimately comes down to, tools. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, I think that's a great thing that, if you have a coach that's, I don't know what's going on here, and has, the wherewithal to say, hey, I need a second pair of eyes. I don't know what to do. When I was a coach, especially when I first started, I would ask a couple of my friends that were already coaches, hey, especially my director up there at the school in Portland. I'm like, hey, I got this going on with a client. Do you have any ideas? I'm kind of, I don't know what else to do. I think I've done everything. And then you get a second opinion. I'm like, of course, that's what I should be doing.
Right.
So having that resource is great.
It's huge, man. It's huge. It's a game changer. But really, the onus is on you. Right?
Yeah.
To make sure that your school is producing the best trainers possible.
Yeah.
And so I love that, right? The continuing education, even on your end, doesn't stop with me. When we do it's the same exact thing. The onus is on me 2 ways, right? To make it an environment where people are comfortable enough to go, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Can you help? That can go one of 2 ways, right? Because if it's, negatively received by leadership. Like, oh my God, come on, Travis.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You should know everything.
You don't know what you're talking about? Come on. Like, well, of course, we're all learning, right?
Yeah.
All of us, all the way up. Mm-hmm. If it's like, dude, great question, man. Thanks for asking. I'm sure other people in this room have the same question. If they don't have it yet, they're definitely going to encounter it. Great. You just saved people the same headache that you're having right now. Awesome. Let's go through it. We go to the whiteboard. Talk to me about what you're doing for this person. Give me some background info. Let me make sure I understand the totality of the circumstances so I can best help you. And we stay there until it's figured out. Then you leave there and you go back to your client and you're like, man, I don't know. It's good. It's better, but I'm not sure if it's everything we need. Mm-hmm. I'm like, cool, I'm coming. I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
Because we got to get it figured out right away. call them up. Hey, listen, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, look, we're working through this. I'm going to come. We're going to give you a free session. I'm going to come over there. We're going to figure this thing out. I'm not leaving until we got it squared away.
Yeah.
Right? And this one's on us. We're just going to do it. You have to do those things.
Yeah.
You have to do those things.
I've done that.
You got to do it. And good on you, because it's like so many people don't want to do that stuff, right?
Especially in the beginning.
No way, because you're like, I barely have money. I get paid for every minute because, but actually it's the opposite. You need to just be okay with giving first, and it will pay you in the long run for sure.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that until you brought that up. I've had 2 situations where I thought the session went terribly.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, you didn't get my best today. This one's on me.
Yeah.
And I just felt like you just paid me $80. Well, it wasn't 80 then. In the beginning, you just paid me $50 for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I delivered. I'll do better next. I don't think I said I'll do better next time, but I'm like, hey, I don't feel good about today. I wasn't very well prepared. I don't think I gave you the amount of money you paid me today.
Yeah.
So I just want to give you a free one. And the first time I did that, I'm like, are they going to come back? But I didn't feel right about that hour at all from the beginning to the end. Maybe I was just off. Maybe I wasn't prepared. I don't remember what it was, but I don't think it was a combination of things. But
Sure.
I felt bad about that session, and twice I did that.
Yeah. Well,
they came back.
Well, and it was probably better.
Yeah.
It was probably better than because they knew.
Mm-hmm.
They knew. They might have been nice about it, didn't say anything.
Yeah.
They knew that wasn't the best version.
Right.
Or that, geez, this trainer can't really figure this out today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're bringing other people from your team and you're going to give me a free one to figure it out? Well, yeah. Do we lose the session cost? Sure.
Yeah.
but that goes a long way
with
a client. So like, wow, man, they're not just here to take my money and whatever. If it works out, great. If not, whatever, no big deal. No, they're committed.
Yeah.
I've paid them for a service, and I'm going to get that service one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were doing a session where we're figuring things out for you because you have a very specific issue that we're working through, not many people in the field are going to do that.
Yeah.
So if you went with someone else, they're probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's huge. And we haven't, we haven't encountered too much of that because we do, we have a small team because, and we're pretty selective. We want to make sure that these folks are really good.
Yeah.
And so we haven't had too much of that at all. We usually get, this is the best trainer I've ever worked with in my life.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to respond that way because we're going to make sure people get the best. And that's just the way it is. But we have to have staff that are very comfortable going, I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that no one on the team is going to think anything other than, oh, cool, we get to learn something.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's figure it out together, man. It's awesome.
Yep.
I haven't encountered that yet, but if I did first before you did,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been asking the same question. That it has to be that type of environment or no one's going to learn anything. And you're going to get, we've all seen them. The trainer that's been working forever,
mm-hmm.
and you can tell because they're still doing techniques from 1984.
Right.
Like you just never evolved. And it's not good because we've learned a lot and it continues to, and the thing with exercise science where like some of the research, a lot of the peer reviewed literature, as you know, in years past was pretty weak, and not up to the standard of what you would generally see in a STEM field. It's not the same, right? It wouldn't pass a, biological or chemistry, research, protocol or the set guidelines for that. But recently, there's been a lot of really good stuff being put out. There's some guys that really know what they're doing, and they're approaching it as if it is a hard STEM field like biology or chemistry.
Right.
They're really diving in, and it's growing, which I love to see because now when we're looking at peer-reviewed literature, we're like, wow, this is really well done.
Yeah.
And in years past, you're like, so you're telling me if I cycle on a bicycle, right, cycling for a month, my squat will go up. It's an actual, it's in the literature.
Yeah.
You maxed out, you did someone's max squat. I wish this wasn't true. You did someone's max squat day one, totally untrained person, which I don't know how you do that because there's been no neural response that allows them to recruit maximum number of motor units simultaneously to even display a maximum force production effort.
Right.
To begin with. But then you just have them riding a bike for 30 days, and then they squat again, and why, my God, their squat went up marginally. Therefore, the conclusion is cycling makes their squat go up. How that made it into the literature, I don't know, but that's real. That's real stuff that used to go on. And so when that's being produced in exercise science programs, can you really expect, if that's college, can you really expect a week-long certification program to really be that great?
No.
You can't.
Mm.
And so I don't expect anybody that's only done that to have all the tools they need yet. Really, the big thing is, do you have foundational knowledge?
Mm.
Do you get it at a foundational level? Are you professional? Were you on time? Were you dressed appropriately for the interview? Can you communicate these things appropriately, effectively, succinctly? I don't need a tangent, right? They don't need a lecture to describe these things. Can you cue properly? Like, how are you as a coach? Do you have all of the foundational elements that are going to make you a good coach and a good teammate? And are you willing to continue to learn? All those things are what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because, exercise science is dramatically improving, but it's kind of on the front end of that, where it's really getting good. There's some really good scientists now that are studying this stuff and putting out great information. But in years past, it just wasn't like that.
Right.
I thought I should furnish an example since I was throwing some shade, but that's real. And so it's not a non-issue. Definitely still there and still lingers around. And so anyone in this profession just needs to know that.
Mm.
Like, okay, it's going to take a little bit more work than just being certified.
Yeah.
To actually be a professional and be successful in this career field, and again, if you were looking for, I just want to do some part-time summer work while I, do something else, then that's probably going to be fine for you.
Mm.
But that's just not who we're looking for.
Right.
We want people that are not dating their career. They're married to this career.
Yeah.
They're ready for a committed relationship. They're all in. And so those are the people we want to bring on.
Yeah. And you'll get both. Some people just dip their toes in the water in this industry and they want to see what it's about. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then they leave. Many times what happens is they go to a commercial box gym and it's just, as you know, that environment as a new coach can be a little bit off-putting because it is very much a numbers-driven game. Mm-hmm. And I remember at 24-Hour Fitness, I had to do, on the first of every month, I had to do a business plan. This is X amount I'm going to bring in. And if I don't meet that goal, then I'll slap on the wrist. If I do it too often, then I get shown the door. So it was very sales driven, but it also made me a much better communicator. Having all those people in front of me. And I tell our students, like, look, it's not a bad thing to go to a commercial box gym, but I'm going to tell you what it's like to be in one. Mm-hmm. So you go in expecting what it is to be a trainer at a box gym, but what you're going to get is a ton of experience. You're going to have people in front of you from different demographics, just different issues, different injuries, and guess what? You get to learn on the job, and you also get to go home and if you don't know something, figure it out how to help this injury that maybe you haven't come across yet. That happened to me plenty of times. Mm-hmm. In Oregon when I was at 24-Hour Fitness. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. Let me look into that tonight when I get home, and I will insert that into your program. Because program design to me, the way I explain it to the class is open up your cupboard, see all those spices, figure it out, get the right spices and put it in that program. It's a dish. I like to think of it as a recipe because not everybody's the same. Everybody moves differently. You have to know what you're looking at and what you're seeing when somebody's doing an assessment. You got to go, okay, we're not going to load you. You got valgus knees. Yep. Can't load that. How do we fix that? And what muscle groups are not activated right now? Which ones are overactive? These are all these are common things that you should know as a coach. And they're also, a lot of this is taught in these online certs, in pictures, in words. That's it. Not application. Once you do it and you have somebody do it a few times, guinea pigs not paying you, then you start to build that competence and you're like, yep. I know what that is, and I know what muscle groups need to be strengthened to get rid of that. Totally. I know why you have medially rotated shoulders. Mm-hmm. I know why. What do you do for your job? You sit all day? Yeah, I get it. Yeah, most people are always in a flex position. We got to unwind you. We got to do the opposite of that. these are common things that coaches should already automatically, when they see a client come in for the first time, having not met them, looking at the way they walk, looking at the way they sit, looking at the shoulders, looking at alignment. When you're just introducing yourself, these are the things that I picked up on and started doing as a coach is, hey, nice to meet you. Let's go sit over here. And as we're, going over there, or if we're doing a tour of the gym, I like to, at the studio with new clients, introduce them to other trainers, introduce them to my clients, make them feel comfortable. While doing that, though, I'm looking at gait. I'm looking at, if they got anterior rotated pelvis and shoulders and head and all that stuff. And I'm getting an idea of what ingredients to put in that program before we even sit down and do goal setting.
Yeah, it's funny because they'll think that you are like magic. They're like, so talk to me about your job. You're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, you sit right, and you had an injury. What sport did you play? I had one the other day. Valgus knee on the assessment. Did you play any sports? Yeah, softball. Right-handed, right? Because she was describing ACL injury or pain, right? I'm like, right. When you swing.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, pop the kneecap off. There's two. That front one, the ACL, stands for anterior. That's the front one.
Right.
Very common with these types of sports. She's like, I'm like, that's not, okay, look, that's not groundbreaking information. But that instills trust. Yeah. Oh, wow.
This person knows what they're
talking about. This person knows what they're talking about. They're not just going to say, oh, you're paying me. Okay, let's do this program. I'll send you this template.
Yeah.
And program design can be really intimidating. I remember when I started. You probably do too.
Yeah, I do.
It's like, ooh, this takes forever.
Yeah.
Doesn't take forever anymore. It's quick.
No,
but
it's super quick.
Super quick. But in the beginning, right, without that foundational information, you're really trying to pull, and you don't really get it yet. Program design is intimidating.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're being questioned, I'm sure you're like, why did you select this?
You need to know.
You need to know.
You need to know why you have everything in there. That's what I tell our students is you'll get to the point where every movement you put in there, every warm up, every like dynamic stretch that you do, the myofascial release, all that stuff, you need to know why you're doing that.
Yep.
You don't just put something down and go, they'll probably like this, or this is a cool movement.
This will take an hour.
Yeah. You need to know that. And I think it just comes down to, when you get in this industry, when I got in, I didn't know. I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to help people instead of give them cancer-causing chemicals,
Yep.
Or diabetes, all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, let's try this. And then for me, I just went all in, and not everybody does that, going back to part-time, full-time. But I think if you have a good foundation, you're more likely to continue on because you don't have that severe imposter syndrome that I think a lot of people have.
Totally.
So being more competent is going to drive in confidence, and then you're like, hey, this is fun. I didn't expect to love this industry as much as I did. I was just like, let's do a change.
Yeah.
But now, to me, it's an art,
It's very cool to see the results of it.
And it is fun. At that first time where you
figure
have
out
a client say, I haven't been able to do this in X amount of years, and they're emotional about it. I was like, wow, I did that?
Yeah.
We did that together. With my knowledge, we did that together, and we're going to celebrate these accomplishments. Weight loss, injury prevention, making somebody be able to swing a golf club without severe back pain, all that stuff. It's awesome.
And you don't realize how important it is to other people.
You don't.
Because you've not been living with it.
Right.
You're just like, what is it? Okay, you got this, you got this. And you're like, all right, we focus on the program. And when you get good at that, it works really well. And you're like, wow. And that first time when you're like, oh, that was like magic. That worked great. I can't believe it, Because in the early days, I don't know if you felt like this too. I'm like, I hope this will work.
There's been times.
I hope this, like in the early, like when you're first starting, you're like, okay, I'm applying the things, but to a real paying customer now. I really hope this works.
Yeah.
And, that goes away with time.
Yeah.
Because, you
get
get more confident with confidence, but you don't realize how much people will get emotional on you. You don't see it coming sometimes.
Totally.
You're like, I can do this now. And you're like, oh, that's been like really bothering you.
Yeah.
Wow. And then it's really fulfilling.
Yep.
So, if you're going to do this career, like I want to help people, but then you're not doing the things to educate yourself to a point where you can actually do that.
Yep.
You're really focused on the outcome and not the activities that drive the outcome. And really those educational pieces, that's what creates the outcome.
Yeah.
But sometimes people like the idea of I'm going to help people and I'm going to be in fitness because I like working out and I'm in shape. And so but they're not willing to take the steps it takes to actually do it as a professional and make a career out of it.
Yeah.
And actually change everyone's life that decides to hire you as a coach.
Yeah.
It's so fulfilling, but it requires a lot of work on the front end.
It does.
It does. And so I love that there's not the low barrier of entry with your school, because you know you're getting serious people.
Yeah.
You know, they're paying money. They're spending 11, soon to be 12 weeks. I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going
Our
to 12
conversation,
weeks.
Going to 12.
Yep.
And that's 4 days a week.
4 days a week.
So that's right. Like, it's a commitment. It's not just like I'll do this thing online on my part time, and if we get it, we'll try it out because I like to work out. Yeah. And then there's a lot of people are in the latter bucket.
Yeah, I think most people that come and take and go to our school, they're more on the serious end of the spectrum.
Definitely.
And not in the I'm just going to dip my toe in. These are people that actually want to know what they read and apply what they've read. You know, it's not just movement. It's also a lot of classroom stuff that's not in books like business. We teach a ton of business, and you could be, and it doesn't matter where you go. If you're an employee at an EOS or wherever, you're still a business within a business. We're still going to talk about communication. We're still going to talk about professionalism. We're going to talk about how to get referrals, testimonials, because even within an EOS, I'm just using that as an example, these are things you still need to do to be successful within those confines.
Definitely.
And then when you decide to move on, now you've got these tools that have gotten better because now you're in front of a lot more people than you would be if you just tried to go independent straight from school, which some coaches have done. We've got quite a few graduates that have gone immediately independent.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
None. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. If you're prepared and you know all of the other things that are going to be involved.
Yeah.
Because personal training is not like, it's not an easy job at all. You know, I think, well, it's just working out.
Yeah.
Just working. I love working out. It's going to be great. But you're 5 a.m. because people need to work out before they go to work. So you're sometimes 4:30, 5. We have people that start at 4:30 in the morning. Then they're driving to their home at 4:30 in the morning. That's early.
That's very early.
It's very early, you know? And then, you know, especially if you're in a big box, I mean, you're there pretty much every day, all day long, from 5 a.m. when the doors open until 10 p.m. when they close. Big box is not an easy job.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. But I think, to your point, I don't think a lot of people think about the business elements that need to be brought into that as well.
Yeah.
We call them unlockables, but like, how am I going to, so I have a client, but how am I going to get a testimonial, a referral, these things that are not a given?
Right.
Now you've bought the package. You're my client. That's done. But now I need to unlock these other things. And the only way I'm going to do that is to give you a phenomenal service and set myself up for the testimonial and the referral that gives me the social proof to continue to grow my business. And how do I do that in a repetitive fashion over time and get better at it over and over? You mentioned earlier, too, the little failures. That was the other thing. Finally remembered. Took me a minute, but I got it. I think that knowing that that's going to happen is big. Like telling people that are getting into this, any business, school, any business, any profession, it's all the same. You're going to have these little hiccups along the way, and it's to be expected. You're not a failure.
Right.
That's everybody. It's not just you.
Every entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah. You're going to fail a lot because you're going to spend a lot of money producing an ad campaign, and it's not going to work. And you're going to go, wow, I didn't really have much money, and I spent a lot of it on trying to drive new business, and it just didn't work. What do we do now? And you're going to have to go back to the drawing board, figure out why it didn't work or what you can improve on. Do another one. Spend more money and time. And then it still might not work. Like, there's a lot involved with that I think are the unforeseen hurdles that you would get over when you go into business for yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's why, going back to the GymGuyz model, that entrepreneurial model, that part, a lot of the ignorance tax has already been paid, right? And so it's a little bit, it's like going to NPTI, where you're like, I want to do both. I want to learn the information, but I also want to apply it. With entrepreneurship, then you're completely on your own anymore. There's no support system, right? It's just you. And so you're doing the sales, you're doing the marketing, you're you're doing the lead acquisition, and you're closing them, and then you're setting the appointments, and then you're training them, and then you're trying to get testimonials and referrals and all the social proof as well. You're doing everything. So that is a more than full-time job. And I think people think, oh my gosh, if I have my own fitness company, as much as I love to work out, oh man, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And
a little bit more to it.
You're making like no money, and the money you are making is being spent to get more clients to build your business.
Yeah.
And you work all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's a grind. There's nothing wrong with that because that is a character-building venture, and you will be better for it, for sure. But the entrepreneur route takes a lot of that out of it, which I love about GymGuyz, because we have a young trainer on right now, and he does a nice mix of both. He's killing it. He's killing it.
It's good.
He's killing it because you're just like, he did the things. He's taking advantage of the support that's in place.
Mm.
When he started, we're like, okay, we have a client for you. Okay. But then that built, now he has 2. Now we have 3. Now we have a full book of business.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long. It sounds like it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But when you look back on it, you're like, oh, that wasn't bad. And I think a lot of folks that are working for another company, we've gotten this a lot too. They want to walk into a full book of business.
Yeah.
As if we just have 50 people waiting.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. You have to come in and go, okay, I'm just going to have one client for a little bit. And then I need to do an awesome job.
Yep.
Get the referrals, get the testimonials, build my own social proof, and be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I tell them one of the expectations when you go in a commercial box gym is you're going to start with nothing, and you're not going to make a whole lot that first month. You have to go in there knowing that. I almost quit. I told the class, in fact, it was yesterday, I almost quit 3 times because I went from Coca-Cola, clock in, clock out job. I knew what I was going to make. Going here, no idea. That first paycheck, I'm like, ooh, how are we going to do this? And then my wife's like, stick with it. Stuck with it. Next paycheck, better. Next one, better. And within a month and a half, I was full.
Yep.
Maybe 2 months. But at that point, I was back to where I was at Coke. And I'm like, thank you for making me stick with this. You saw my potential. You knew this was going to happen. Apparently, I didn't.
Yep.
My wife seems to see the future more than I do, is more realistic about things. But I stuck with it, and thank goodness I did, man, because I had that support, and, I just put in a little bit of effort. A lot of things that I learned when I was in class, I applied, and they were right.
Yeah.
And they prepared me as well, as much as I'm preparing the students today. Like, this is what it's like in the beginning. Continue to grind it out, and you're going to be happy that you did, because this is, to me, the most rewarding, fulfilling job I've ever had. I couldn't think of doing anything else, and it's also very financially rewarding when you get to that point.
Definitely.
I didn't know that was going to follow. I had no idea what the potential was. I let them know, try to be realistic, a little bit of effort here, a lot of effort here, and, of course, scaling business. There's other opportunities you can do as a coach to scale. It's limitless. It really is.
It is.
So,
and it's not obvious, because you see that first paycheck and you're like, uh-oh, I messed up.
Yeah, I could make more at In and Out.
Yep, exactly. Well, I think the thing, too, with a lot of jobs, like the one you mentioned at Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah.
You probably didn't like that job, or felt like, I'm looking for something else.
It wasn't fulfilling.
It's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
But they pay you just enough, right? It's not quite bad enough to make most people jump.
Yeah.
And actually do the things that they would want to do,
right,
and be fulfilled in doing. And it would actually benefit more people that really could do something like this, not necessarily personal training, but whatever their thing is, if it was just a little bit worse, if the conditions were just a little bit worse, to push people over the edge to go, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to go make this thing that I'm really passionate about and that gives me fulfillment. I'm going to make that work.
Yeah.
And it's just, a lot of times I hear it, because I have friends that way too. They're in careers are like, well, but if I leave, I'm getting paid X, and I know I work X amount of hours a week, and I know for every hour I'm going to get compensated a certain amount of money, and there's a lot of unknown, and it's scary. And I'm like, man, I wish, this sounds bad, but I wish it was a little bit worse for you, because I know they'd be successful.
Yeah.
Very intelligent, grinders. And it's just, you got to get through that first little period of being like, I expected and I prepared to not make any money for a certain amount of time, and I'm going to be okay. And if that's the case, then it's like, just, you need to go all in right now. now's the time to marry this new thing, this new career.
Yeah, I think for me, in my position, to me, I've never really had a fulfilling job. Now I did. I worked for Delta Airlines. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. But then 9/11 happened, and then I got laid off, so I had to go another route. But once I found this industry, I'm like, wow, this is where I belong. I had no idea that this was ever going to happen, and I'm glad it did. Meet a lot of great people. It's a health, wellness, and fitness. These are good people. This is good information to spread to clients, to students, so they can help people. It's just it's an awesome industry. I really, really enjoy it. But it is challenging. It can be challenging. So we're trying to help them realize what it is they need to do to not make it difficult.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So you're GymGuyz East Valley.
Yes. And so, but that entails Scottsdale, Tempe, and Mesa.
Okay, I was going to ask that next.
So some folks do ask, when you say East Valley, it's like you're just in Mesa, or and but no, we Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa, Paradise Valley.
Okay.
Biltmore area in Phoenix. Like some of that area is not claimed by another GymGuyz location. So some of it is kind of like, it's up for, does it make sense for the trainer who I think would be best for this client geographically to go, or should I call over to the West Valley, because we have one in the West Valley as well. Yeah. And so sometimes it's like that, where we'll just call and go, hey, we have this person, but really they're closer to you. They called us, but it might make more sense for your staff. What do you think? But we cover a big patch. It's a lot of ground to cover. Yeah, it's pretty big.
A lot of population in those areas.
A lot of population.
So if somebody out there wanted a coach, how would they go about getting one from GymGuyz?
So there's a couple different ways. We do Google Ads. We just put up a billboard on the 202. So that's some visualization there. They can find us on Instagram, of course. We do. We're on a couple like Thumbtack and Bark. Okay. Those places. We do mailers sometimes. There's lots of different ways. You'll see some signs up every now and then. You might see the van driving around. There's lots of different ways that you may come in contact with us. A Google search is where we will get most of our folks that inquire. That will lead you to a page for a discovery call. So they might Google, in-home personal training, Scottsdale. Yeah. They never heard of GymGuyz, but they're like, I want an in-home personal trainer in Scottsdale. They might Google that, and then they'll find us there. Yeah. And they click on the link to learn, well, what is this about? And so they'll fill out a form. I'll call them. It's just a discovery call. Yeah. Kind of tell them about what we do and why it's different, because it is a niche. It's a niche service within personal training. Right. So, although we do offer a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different ways we can train people, it's a little bit niche. We're not at a brick and mortar. There's nowhere for them to drive and walk in and see our facility, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit different. But usually that discovery call is nice. We do a lot of events as well. So like the Women's Expo, health and wellness expos that are up and down the valley. Yeah, we do those as well. Just to we're out and we'll have maybe we'll have a raffle or something, or just something fun for people to do and hang out. Just get some more information about what we do. Yeah. Yeah, so those are the basic things that we do.
Is there like an email or a direct number that they could call if they're wanting to get help?
Yeah. So when they call the number, when they Google and they call that number, it's not a corporate number, which is cool. It's my number. Okay. Yeah. So when they call that, they get me, which is really nice. And if they fill out the form, I'm the one that calls them. And we set it up that way because even though it's a corporate, right, it's a franchise. Yeah. We don't want that corporate feel. We run this territory like it's a small business specifically for the people that live here. Yeah. And I love that GymGuyz allows us to do that because, how franchise can feel very corporate. You call a number and it's like, I'm redirected to somewhere else and then I got to wait and all this. And it's just not that way. So we set it up so that you get the guy you're actually going to be dealing with through the whole process on the first contact, which is nice.
Cool. How can somebody contact you who wants to be a coach? Same way?
Same way, but I will give you a direct line that you can put in here as well, so they can call me direct. Okay. And also my email, so I'll put that in there. Just say, hey, I'm interested in a conversation, right? And then it'll start with that, and and we'll just chat and make sure that whether we like them or not, is it a good fit for them? Is this what you're looking for? Because these are the things that are going to be required. This is how we run our business. And so if they're like, that sounds great, awesome, let's talk, and then we'll get in person and we'll run them through the application process like we talked about earlier. And then assuming all goes well, they'll get an offer letter. And if they like that, they can sign it and send it in. And we'll do a background check. We do drug screening on everyone because we're sending people to their home, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't have any, we got to make sure that we're covered. And the people that are showing up are the people who should be showing up, right? And so that's part of it as well. So there's going to be a couple weeks there at least where we're onboarding you, we're waiting for the background check to clear, make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
The drug screen, all those things have to pass, and get them fully onboarded in our systems, right? Our app and all the things that we do that we're going to expect of them when they arrive.
Yeah.
And they'll be working with me at first a little bit. There's going to be a lot of, we're going to get close over those first couple of weeks to make sure that they're ready to go and they have what they need. And then they're off and running. Yeah.
Cool. Well, before I forget, there's an important question I got. Now I've heard this from students before, while talking about your company. Some people are afraid to go to somebody's house. Now, are these clients vetted before we bring out a trainer?
It's a good question.
What's that look like?
We get this question a lot from our female applicants, which honestly we don't get nearly enough female applicants, and I wonder if it's because it's in home, and there's a level of comfort that's just not there, as there would be in a public place. Yeah, totally understandable. So the process of sales goes like this. So we have the discovery call we mentioned earlier, where I talk to them. I then go to their home and I meet them in person, and I do an assessment. So I do the assessment.
Okay.
Based on all of the things that I'm hearing from them, in my mind I'm thinking, well, geographically, from a skill set standpoint, scheduling standpoint, I'm kind of getting a list together. Who do I think would be best for this client? And then I reach out to the trainer who I think would be best, and I say, this is who I have. This is the information. Do you want to take them because I think you'd be the best fit? Then they can make that determination. It is difficult. It's not like we're doing background checks on our clients.
Yeah.
But also from what I've seen, the demographic that generally purchases our service, because our packages are purchased up front. So there's generally a larger upfront financial obligation. There's generally not this criminal element or creepiness vibe I'm getting from folks. Now, I will say this. There has been a time when it was with an older gentleman, and he was nice, funny, making jokes, but he's like, an older guy. He's over 80, and he's making some jokes that are a little bit, probably not going to send him a female trainer. He's just saying some things that are a little bit too much for a female. Because if he says those things in front of a female, she's probably going to feel uncomfortable. And the onus is really on me and our company to make sure that we're not putting people in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
And so I just fielded this question yesterday, as a matter of fact, with a female applicant. She asked the same thing. And she said, well, look, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with that regardless. How would you feel about if I trained people, a male client, on my own? If I only took on clients that were male, if they were either in an apartment gym or an HOA gym, where there was more, a little bit more public access, or I took on female clients, would that be acceptable? And the answer is absolutely. Yeah, that's not a factor whatsoever with us, because, we get these forms filled out and they say, well, I prefer a female trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them say that.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we're also not making the client feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
By saying, well, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to send you Travis. I asked specifically for a female trainer. And so we want to make sure that both ends of that are comfortable.
Yeah.
And within home, you do have that. There's a bit of unknown. And let's say that I do talk to them and I feel like they're great guy. We don't know for sure, right? So then if there's a comfortability factor there at play, we can figure out a solution, like we did yesterday on the phone with this applicant. She said, before I even come in and talk to you, would this be a deal breaker? And the answer is, it's not a deal breaker at all.
Yeah.
Our trainers have to feel safe. Our clients do too. So it goes in both directions. And if we don't have a person on staff that can train that client, that's comfortable training that client, if that female trainer is the only one that can train this guy, and I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I don't feel comfortable. And I have no other male trainers available. We're just not going to train that person.
Yeah.
Which we hate to do from a business standpoint, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
We're not going to send people in there that are uncomfortable and then set them up for a situation where they're training someone for 6 months and they're like, I just feel uneasy every single time, because they're not going to stay with the company.
Right.
And we want people that are going to be here.
Yeah.
We want longevity. So, I'd rather have a staff that knows that we are 100% behind them and that we're willing to make adjustments as needed to make sure everyone's comfortable and feeling good about it, rather than take on a client that might lead to either a situation, or even if there's not a situation, we don't want to lose the trainer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great question. There's just no way to do a background check on folks.
Yep.
So we have to really go over, I did the assessment, this is what I saw, this is what I heard. And even going into it, I've done this as well, where I bring if I know that the female trainer is the only one available, I can take her with me on the assessment.
Yeah.
How'd you feel? Oh, I'm comfortable. It's fine.
Yeah.
Or they might go, that guy seems like a creep. I'm not going in there.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. We're not gonna sell something at the expense of our trainer's safety or, even comfortability, even perceived, lack of safety. So
yeah,
we're not gonna do that.
yeah. I think this is a big question for in-home personal training. I talk about it too. If you want to,
For sure.
like I said, hey, this is a part of a business that you can create and have one-on-ones, and you can also do in-home personal training. And they always ask, well, that seems like it could be unsafe, but it sounds like you're taking all the precautions, so that should set people's minds at ease. And that's, I think, the answer that I think a lot of people are looking for. Like, how does this work? Do you just knock on the door? Hey, I'm so-and-so. I guess I'm working with you.
Yeah.
But that's all been, extinguished by you going there and vetting them and talking to them and doing assessments and making sure that you got the right fit with that coach you're going to send there. So
yeah, we do the best we can, but also, I think because this is a question I get too, so I'll just add this in just in case, just to squash this question. I think a lot of folks are like, well, I have this other job. Which we're like, keep your other job, because we don't have a book of business for you. So keep your job. We'll add people to your schedule. And if you get to a point where you're like, cool, I'm going to exit that other job and transition to you only.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But we're not asking anyone to, okay, you quit there and now you work for us and just wait and hope that we get you some clients.
Yeah.
That's not the case, right? But also we don't, I don't call you and say, hey, Travis, I've put this person on your schedule. This new client's on your schedule for Wednesdays and Fridays at whatever time. Do it or you're fired. Like, I think that's sometimes the perception.
Yeah.
It's not the case at all, right? It's, hey, I talked to this person. Travis, I think you'd be the best trainer for them. They're close to your house or about 10 minutes away, whatever it is, right? This is their need. This is their background. This is the results of the assessment. And with your background and expertise, I think you'd be perfect. And I think your personalities would line up amazing. Do you want this client? And you go, gosh, I'm on the schedule at my other job during this time. I don't know if I can do it. Now, obviously, if it's habitual, and we've had this, where we're like, okay, we've given you 6 clients and you've turned down all of them, right? Then it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But we also understand that, especially as a brand new trainer on our staff, you're probably going to have another job for supplemental income until you're able to segue completely over, which is another good feature of not going in independent entrepreneur route in the beginning. If you go intrapreneur, we don't require you to stop working at the gym down the street.
Yeah.
By all means, have at it.
Cool.
We're going to add to your schedule. And if you go, gosh, I love GymGuyz so much, you're giving me so much business, I can't wait to work for you. Well, as soon as I hit this amount of clients on my book, that's the demarcation, right? When I get over that, I'm going to just transition all the way over and open up my schedule for GymGuyz clients.
Yeah.
That's great, but it's not a requirement. So we understand that most folks are going to have another job for a little while until their book of business is filled. And so those things are going to come up where they're like, I just can't take this client on.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? As long as it's not, I'm not trying to work.
Yeah.
And we've had that, unfortunately, but that's not the norm. It's usually,
Right.
gosh, I wish I could, but I got this other thing. I'm not ready to leave that other job yet. And that's fine. We get it. We want to make sure that our staff are supported.
Yeah.
And it has to make sense for them financially too. So we don't require any of that.
Yeah.
full jump, you know. And with entrepreneurship, one of the biggest, there's a lot of upsides to being an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that that's a bad route. I don't mean that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much so the right route for a lot of people,
Yep.
for some people. But with this position, you can build up and then slowly reduce your hours at the other career while you're building your hours up here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really nice, a nice feature.
That is nice.
So I did want to get that out there too, because that's almost a universal question.
Yeah.
During the first call with applicants.
Yep.
I got this other job. What do I do? You're going to make me take these clients? Am I going to get fired? No. If you're doing your best, if you're acting in good faith, and we know that you're trying to build your book, you're not ducking work. You're trying you're trying to do it. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But then we're totally good with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's a great job, man. It's something I wouldn't mind have done. What am I just say? Dunning? That's something that I should have done early on, because I really, I like helping people, and I think it would have been kind of cool to add that to what I was doing. But I really appreciate you coming on. We'll put your information in the bio for coaches who want to reach out to you,
Yeah, please.
or in the podcast. So Brock, appreciate you coming out.
Thank you
nice
for
meeting
having
you
me.
in person finally.
Same.
And hope to talk to you again soon.
I'm sure we'll chat.
So,
sure we will.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks.